about once a week. To learn more about the program, to see upcoming info sessions, and to link to the application, you can visit grow-ny.com. You can also follow the activities of the Grow New York program on our social media feeds at grow_ny. We are going to turn it over in a moment to our interviewer and our subject. When we do, I'm going to ask you if you have questions that you'd like us to address at the end, to go ahead and use the QA function on the bottom of your screen to get those conveyed to me, and I will interject towards the end. This is going to be a 30-minute conversation. And just want to remind everyone, it's going to be a weekly series for the foreseeable future, Thursdays at noon, covering a number of different topics that are relevant to the entrepreneurial community. Upcoming, we have identifying the right problems to solve, leveraging strategic partnerships to grow your business, and expanding to a second sphere of activity. So we're really excited to have these little snack-sized chats on Thursdays. I am going to turn it over now to Delia Hughes, who is a Johnson MBA candidate, who will be interviewing Jason Goodman, the co-founder of Antithesis Foods, talking about how to get retail buyers to notice your products. So take it away.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Jen, for the introduction. My name is Delia. I'm really excited to talk to Jason today. He is one of the co-founders of Grabanzos, and he has so much energy and so much insight, so it should be a really good conversation. Also, just as background, I do come from the retail space. I worked for Walmart Sam's Club as a buyer, so this subject matter is right up my alley. So Jason, can you first just describe Grabanzos really quickly for the audience before we jump in?
Sure. So Grabanzos are a crunchy chocolate coated bite. So if you think of like a Whopper or a chocolate covered pretzel bite, that's sort of what we're going for. But we figured out a way to get chickpeas to crunch just like a pretzel does without any weird chickpea taste. So most of like a pretzel is made of wheat. So Grabanzos being made of chickpeas, they have more protein, more fiber, and fewer calories than any of these other crunchy snacks, especially these other crunchy chocolate covered snacks. So we sell them, and we'll talk more about the retailers. We sell them locally in Ithaca and then on our website at grabanzos.com.
Awesome. Can you, oh, amazing.
I have lots of show and tell. It's okay. We'll get there.
Can you talk to us about how you first started selling Grabanzos?
Sure. So Grabanzos came out of a product development class at Cornell. So we were already up in that area. We had done some customer discovery of who we thought our customers were through the eLab program at Cornell. So we had an idea that that college consumers were willing to try new things, and they were probably going to be the ones that we wanted to target first. So using that as our starting point thesis, we talked to Mandible, which is the coffee shop attached to Man Library. And then our other target was College Town Bagels, because obviously they're in College Town. There's lots of students there. So our whole process was, let's get them to taste it. This is still our process now. Let's get people to taste the product, come in with our story. Hey, we're local, we're from Ithaca, and just try this and see if it would be a fit. And then we would even give them the product for free if they wanted to. But it was showing up, knowing who we wanted to talk to, and then getting them to try it. I think the most important other thing we did was to get their contact information so we could follow up. A lot of times people will forget about you, even if you're a great tasting new product. People will just, everyone has, for you, your product is like your whole world, but for them, it's just like one other thing. So getting their contact information and following up persistently was really, really important. But then that's how we started. So we got on shelf at Mandible, and then we got on shelf at College Town Bagels through that way.
Awesome. Are there any key learnings that you took away in terms of your first set of packaging, or where you were placed in Mandible's and CTB? Because for those that don't know, they're both cafe, coffee shop-esque. So maybe you learned something by being closer to the register or closer to similar snacks.
Yeah, so there's a few things. First, our initial packaging was like, we thought it was beautiful, but it was pretty basic. Here's our first packaging. There's Grabanzos. We hand applied these labels on the front and the back. This is from that original production run. The Best By date is July 18th, so we made this like 3 years ago. I think what we learned was that even this old packaging, when placed in the right place, it sold. So this was on, it was labeled like local product, and it was on the top shelf at Mandible, right near the register. So people were buying them even with this, and that gave us a lot of confidence to just go forward and talk to more people. At CTB, it didn't sell as well until, because we had worse placement. We were like on just kind of in like a shelf next to some other things. We kind of got lost. But then when we did sampling there, people were into it. They just kind of had to know what it was. But the packaging itself was not good enough to get people to try it without us putting a lot of extra effort into it.
Got it.
Yeah.
So then using the data that you were getting from Mandibles and CTB, you then leveraged this to sell into Green Star.
Right.
And just for everyone that doesn't know, Green Star is an Ithaca-based natural cooperative. So can you just talk us through how you got then into Green Star?
Yeah, it was a similar process. We said, hey, we're selling up here. So we just went to the buyers in Green Star, gave them product, they liked it, and they said, sure, we'll put you on shelf. We started with a relationship there. I think they ordered 16 of these. They put them on shelf, and then we said, hey, how can we support you? And we did a lot of sampling, because that's how people can recognize the brands. That sold well. They reordered like a ton more garbanzos, and then the buyer changed, and then we never heard from them again. So we are no longer in Green Star, but getting them on shelf and then sampling was very effective to moving the first batch of these off shelf.
Yeah, that makes sense to me, because of course it's a new innovation, right? So consumers aren't as educated about the product. So I think when you have an item like that, sampling and education is so important. And for you guys, it was obviously getting people to actually try the product.
Right. I mean, and that's how it worked with the buyers, was just dropping it off and making sure that they tried it. And then again, following up and making sure that they knew we were alive and around and we were checking in. I think that probably goes a long way of showing how much you'd be down to support your product, the follow-up and constant attention.
Definitely. So then you left beautiful Tompkins County and ventured down to New York City. So you guys got into Joe Coffee Company. How
Yes.
did you do that?
And I think this is going to be a returning theme here, is a warm introduction. So one of our co-founders actually had worked at Joe Coffee before he came to work for Antithesis. So that helps. But if the product is not good and doesn't taste good, they're not going to pick it up. So we sent them samples, and they liked it. They tried us out in one location. I believe the first one was in Columbia University. So there's a Joe Coffee Company on campus there. Again, it's that same thesis of we know who our customer is. We did some research and customer discovery work. So college campuses we thought would make a lot of sense. And that worked. And then we were selling well there. And then they expanded us to the World Trade Center location and a location in Brooklyn. So there was 3 Joe Coffee Company locations.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Was there a reason? I know one of your founders had a connection to Joe Coffee Company, but is there a reason you kept wanting to target coffee shops?
So if you walk into like a Wegmans or like our big grocery, and even when you go to Green Star, we're just hidden. If you don't know about us, you wouldn't even try it. Even with our old packaging at Joe Coffee, we still sold because they only sold like 3 food items. So if you can get into some of those stores when you have great placement, it almost doesn't matter what your packaging looks like. You're just by the nature of you being the only product there, it will work. It's a little bit harder to do that, and you have to be really targeted, but it's so easy to get lost on shelves everywhere else. So in that sense, it's easier. It's like, what battle do you want to fight? Yeah.
Totally. It's a really interesting case study too, because Oatly, for those familiar, Oatly is an plant-based oat drink. And obviously they had no brand recognition in the United States when they first launched from Sweden, but they targeted coffee shops and got baristas really excited about the product, and then started branding it within coffee shops to then leverage getting into mainstream retail, to get into Wegmans, to get into Whole Foods, and then the brand exploded. So it's a really unique way to do that. You just get a lot of people to see and understand the brand before you then go to these retail buyers to say, hey, we're selling here, here, and here. This is our sales. This is our velocity. This makes sense for your stores. We kind of have built the brand here. Can you test it out? It's a cool way to do it. So let's talk about Wegmans. How did you get the Wegmans buyers' attention?
So that was another warm introduction from doing. So this is what a lot of times people will say, focus, focus, focus. And that's 100% right. But when I think you're doing retail outreach, I would say yes to almost everything. We said yes to every sampling opportunity we were ever given. And whether that's sampling at a farmer's market, on Cornell's campus, at startup events, there's a sampling at Grow New York, sampling at all these food and ag events across New York State. Like we would schlep to Buffalo, Rochester, wherever, and we would just do every event that we were invited to sample at. And so I think that got us in front of folks from the startup incubator in Rochester, Next Corp, and they introduced us to people at Wegmans, who then laddered us down to the Wegmans in Ithaca. So it's kind of circumference that route, but it was all through us trying to put ourselves out there, getting as many people as we can to taste garbanzos, and then building kind of a network that would support us. And then it was up to us. I think it's like with anything, if you get an introduction to someone, it's up to you then to put the work in, and then to actually get on shelves, and then you have to support the product once it's there. But it really was just getting in front of as many people as we could, doing as many events as possible, and sending as many samples to as many people that wanted them. I think I should mention, to make it easy and make it fast to get samples out to people who want them. So we have this little trial box that we built. It's very simple. It just has our name on it. It has our colors, and we can throw 2 bags of garbanzos in there, and we can ship them off to whoever wants them at any time. So it makes it really, really, really easy to get samples out. Sometimes it's kind of it can be a logistical hassle to do this, but it really matters. And if you can get these samples out, if you can track them and follow up, we found to be a very effective way to get in front of people.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
The box looks great.
Oh, thank you.
So when you are currently are you only in the Ithaca Wegmans right now?
Right.
Can you talk to us about how the process works? So if you start off in one Wegmans and you're successful, what's the next steps to inevitably, hopefully, get not national distribution, but Wegmans distribution?
From talking to them, it sounded like the next Wegmans where we would expand in this sort of area. So Syracuse, Binghamton, and Geneva Wegmans. And so if you do well there, then you get a shot at Rochester. And then if you do well in Rochester, that's like Wegmans HQ. It's everywhere else. Everything's on hold now because of the pandemic. But that's the route, at least for us. So we once things calm down and everything gets more or less back to somewhat normalcy, we'll aim to do that. That seems to be the thing. So it's like, do well here, do well a few larger places, show that you can support the product at scale, and then off you go.
Cool. And did they give you certain metrics that you needed to hit? Like, what does well mean?
So we chatted to the category buyer about our numbers in Ithaca. We were selling 150 bags per month with our facings, and they said that was above average. So that seemed good enough. Yeah, of our milk and dark.
Wow. Okay, great. Yeah. And then can you just describe for us the velocity differences between being in Joe Coffee Company,
Sure.
say the Columbia University location that's targeting students, versus Wegmans? And for those that don't know, velocity is just how quickly the product is selling off the shelf in a given time frame.
Yeah, and it's been different for us over time. Based on how much people know about us, specifically based on our packaging type also. So these guys, when we started at Mandible, I think we would sell something like 30 bags every month. And that was pretty good. When we got to here's our new packaging, this started selling, and when people knew about us a little bit more, this sold closer to 200 bags per month at Mandible. When this started in Columbia at the Joe Coffee Company, when no one knew about us, that sold, let's say, in Columbia, so this is students, this would sell maybe 15 bags a month. But when they expanded us to the World Trade Center, when even great placement, but with this packaging, it was selling 3. So when you change packaging to this, we started selling to about 30. And that seems to be what works at a coffee shop, about 30 bags per month. And then the more student-centric ones, so the coffee shop at Cornell, Mandible at Cornell is 200. Wegmans is 100, 150. and then the coffee shop at Columbia is closer to like 60. So it's a weird combination of brand awareness. Good packaging by far helps the most. And then from there, it's awareness and getting people to trial, know what it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
For the Columbia location, have you spent any money in like geo-targeting with social media just to gain more like students' attentions?
Oh, we have, if anyone has some ideas about how to do this well, please let us know. We have tried a bunch of different Facebook ads and some Instagram influencer stuff. We really tried that most on Cornell's campus, and that seemed to work. For Columbia, not really. This is really, it's sort of like a control. There's no marketing that's done there. And so what happens when you're just on shelf with a package that looks nice and who tries and buys it? And we've gotten people from Columbia that have reached out to us and said, wow, this is great. I can't believe I've never heard of this before. Why aren't you guys everywhere? So just this organic trial with nice packaging is helping there.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So being a smaller brand, what would you say are the top 3 key takeaways to getting into these diverse retail locations of retail stores, food co-ops, coffee shops?
I would say warm intros for most of them are the key. That'll get you at least a trial. So to do that, just do as many sampling events as you possibly can and just get in front of as many people as you can. There's plenty of opportunities. There's lots of events, or there used to be lots of events for you to give away a snack that tastes good. So try to do as many of those as possible. You will, even if you're not even trying to, you will be able to network that way. You will stumble upon people who want to help you. A lot of people want to help small brands. So build your network that way, get introductions to retailers through that. And then once you're there, make it really easy to get sampling. Like a sample box is great. Make something that's very shippable, and you can like pre-package like 50 of these and then ship them out as soon as you get requests. Track them, and then really, really, really important is follow up. Polite persistence. 6 emails is fine. Just, be nice about it. I think if you keep persisting, wait until they say no, and then say why. Keep pushing until you hear something back from people. Most people won't respond to your first 3 emails. That's okay. Send more. So do a lot of sampling. Get warm intros. Get samples to the retailers, and then follow up until you're in the place. So none of it's easy, but like anything with this whole journey, it's just keep pushing and keep persisting with it.
That is like great advice. I think warm intros is so important, which means you have to, even if you're not an outgoing personality, you have to just put on a face, talk to people, be ready to pitch your product at all times, because you never know who you're going to meet. But Jason, what would you say is like the main aspect holding Garbanzo's back from getting into more retail locations?
Right now, it's probably COVID-19. But generally for us, it's been production. We have made great progress on there, but making this snack that tastes like it does out of chickpeas without any weird off flavors has been just it's a food science challenge. So while we're more or less on the other side of that and we can produce a bunch of garbanzos now, it's been production. Making this stuff is just difficult. We started making this in a kitchen doing 200 bags a month was our production capacity. So when we decided to add Green Star, it was like, oh gosh, can we even support this? So now where we can do several thousand or tens of thousands of bags, now we're ready to go and want to add lots of retailers. But yeah, it's been production. It probably will continue to be production because it's a novel thing.
That's awesome. And can you just talk to the audience, because you had a lot of exciting things lined up with Wegmans for this week, but of course they're not happening. So can you just talk to us?
Oh yeah, we were going to do sampling. We were doing post-Easter sampling. We had all this. We were going to be the people in the store. Usually we hire someone to do the sampling for us. They were going to let us do the sampling at Ithaca. We were going to tell everyone about the brand. We can't do that. So head on over to aisle 3B at Wegmans. We're still there. We're still on shelf if you want to try us out. We're also, if you'd like one of these lovely garbanzo boxes, go to garbanzos.com. That's G-R-A, garbanzos.com. Don't let Google auto correct you. And head over to try us out. But yeah, we had planned a ton of sampling events. We were excited. There were lots of events, and it's not just us; it's everyone. We were pumped to get out in front of everyone this summer, and we will continue to be excited about it this fall. But yeah,
I'm gonna jump in. and remind folks that you can submit questions through the Q&A functionality at the bottom of your Zoom window. That's a great segue, Jason. And Delia, I'll invite you too to weigh in with your perspective on this from Tazzy. But a number of the questions coming through are about responding to the pandemic situation, and particularly around sampling. What are you doing to close the gap in this environment in which you can't sample? There's also a question about really putting momentum behind a brand launch at this moment in time. So your thoughts on that?
Sure, I'll start. Brand, yeah, I think launching a brand is difficult. So launching a brand is always difficult. What we're trying to do with sampling is our fans who have been buying garbanzos online for a while, we're asking them, we're giving them like free coupons to give to their friends to buy for a free trial pack. It makes sense for us to give away a trial pack of this still. So we had budgeted things to do sampling at a bunch of Wegmans and a bunch of places for this whole year. Instead, we're just going to give away free trial packs from our core customers that know people. They've tried the brand, they like it, so they may have some friends that they think would like it just as much as they do. So they'll give out trial packs. Hopefully, we can give our customers that way. I think that's the best you can do. You can we're going to also experiment with ads to see if we can get conversions to trial packs that way. But I have a hunch that if you just get people to try it, high quality leads from your core customers who know why your product is good and who can evangelize for you, that's probably your best solution. So keep sampling, just find a way to give away the smallest amount of your product that you can, that still evokes what you're trying to do, and then ship that to as many people as you can.
Yeah, so making sure you have your online presence and store ready to go, because right now that's the only option.
Great.
Right.
I have another question that came in that's relevant for both of you. It's about better for you product. So, which both of you have. What are the key strategies for introducing a better for you product? What do you focus on? How do you drill down to the specific characteristics like whole ingredients, fresh, local, et cetera? So.
I think better for you is so poorly defined. So make sure you have a point of view, a very strong point of view in your message. We think better for you is more protein, more fiber, and fewer calories. And just make sure you're clear in your comparison to everyone else in your category. We have more of this. Oh, and by the way, we taste great too. That's it. So have a clear message on what your better for you is, and just repeat it 100 times. That's my opinion. Yeah.
Similar thought process. If you have to know your consumer, you have to know what they care about, and that's kind of what should define your better for you. So in my case, I'm making better for you candy, and our whole thing is sugar. So better for you in our case means less sugar. But that's like because our consumer has spoken to us and says we care about limiting the amount of sugar that we're intaking in our diet. So just to Jason's point, define what your version of better for you means, and that should build out all of your branding and messaging.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Also got a couple of questions on packaging. What are the resources you used to help kind of land on the packaging you have, Jason? What were the problems with your original packaging, and how did you get from there to here?
Yeah, so our original packaging was fine. Again, original packaging. We asked our customers a lot about what they liked and what they didn't like. So we put this out there. We had some people that bought it, and especially online. And then we sent out a survey and asked what they liked and didn't like about it, I think. And then we used that to create a brief, which we went to, there's a website called 99 Designs. So we submitted a brief to them, and they do literally like 35 different, it's not 99, it's like 35 different designs. And from there, we could see what we liked and didn't like about all these different ways to think about a healthy, crunchy snack. And we used those designs to professionalize this package. And that got us very, very, very close to this final one here. But it was iteration. It's iteration and feedback like everything else.
Mm-hmm. And any particular packaging resources in the Grow New York region that you would recommend?
I would say when you're starting, do digital printing. It's more expensive on a per unit basis, but you're gonna change your packaging so many times. You're gonna see so many things that are wrong with it that you want to do like small runs. And digital printing is really good for that. We use a company called EPAC, EPAC. I think that's what they're called. I think they're in Boston. Locally, for these, we used in Ithaca Arnold's printing. They're great for first runs. And then in Albany, there's a company called Green Bush Tape and Label. They make these, but with a nicer embossed thing, so you can still water on them and it's okay. So there's some companies.
Great. And then I think we have time for one more. What feedback have you received from your customers regarding your pricing relative to alternative snacks they consider? So where are you pegged in the landscape, and what feedback have you received?
For garbanzos, we are definitely higher than a lot of our competitors. Depends who you're comparing them against. We want to be compared to like other chocolate commodity snacks, and we're like way more expensive. It's just because it's a novel thing and we're not at scale yet. We're cheaper online than we are in store. And now with our next production run, we should have more improved margins and a larger pack size, which should reduce the serving size cost. This is a goal of the company. Look, if you're making foods that only like the 1% of people can buy, that would not be an interesting company for me, and I think for most of my team. So we are constantly trying to make our stuff cheaper. It is what it is in the beginning. Everything is so much more expensive when you're small. So just by the nature of getting larger, we will get more affordable. But we're a little more expensive than other snacks. We're also better. So.
Very good. Well, listen, we are rounding up to the end of our kind of bite-sized chunk of time here. I want to thank Delia and Jason for helping us launch this series. I would be interested in feedback from folks who attended or are watching this in the future. If there's a desire to have more on Better For You, more on retail, you can reach out to grow-ny@cornell.edu and send your thoughts and feedback on this. Coming up next week, we will be speaking about how to use technology in a way that addresses problems that are actually occurring in the marketplace rather than solutions in search for problems. Hope everybody joins us then. Thank you again, Delia and Jason. And I hope everybody has a great Thursday. See you next week.
Thank you.